All right, dude. I've been playing Pokemon Sword and Shield. Is it worth $60? We're going to talk about it. So with this review, I wanted to take a little bit of time before I made it because this game had some controversy surrounding it at launch, to state it mildly. If you don't already know, dude, basically, people were complaining about this game before it launched for a few reasons. A, they did not feel it was revolutionary enough. B, the graphics were subpar in their eyes. And C, this game does not include all 921 Pokemon in the game. Now, I'm going to address all of these things later, but just briefly. I feel like a lot of the criticism was valid, and I also feel like a lot of it was people with too high expectations getting angrier and angrier. Keep in mind, by the way, this is all coming from a lifelong, now adult, Pokemon fanboy who has played and completed every single mainline Pokemon game, grew up with the TV show, and still collects Pokemon cards. I am what you would call a Pokemon fanboy, and I'm fine with that. I'm proud to say that, but just remember that as I'm giving the review. That's the lens at which I'm looking at this game through. This is not the perspective of some casual who has never played Pokemon, and it's not me projecting my hopes and dreams into this game. I'm looking at this game for itself, and not the outside factors surrounding this game. What I always try to do when looking at a game for its worth is consider two basic things. One, am I enjoying the game? And two, is it successful in what it's trying to do for the asking price? So strap on, take a seat, put the video on 2x speed if you need to. This is going to be a long one. Let's talk about Pokemon Sword and Shield. Let's just jump into it. As far as the story, Pokemon has never, ever been about the story, and this game is no exception. The story is a fairly basic Pokemon experience. You start in a nice little town, you have a rival, you pick a starter Pokemon, you go and fight gym leaders to earn badges, you try to become the Pokemon League champ. That's it. What's interesting about this story, though, is that the current champion, Leon, is a celebrity who's undefeated. This literally, by the way, made me want to challenge him the second I got my starter. Grookey the Grass Monkey's the best. I named him DK. Anyway, I wanted to destroy Leon. They do a good job at making him that nice guy that you just kind of want to punch in the face the whole time. He didn't do anything wrong, but I still want to destroy him. It's also interesting that your rival, who's named Hop, I know, stupid. Anyway, your rival, Hop, is the champion's brother. So the whole time he's also trying to beat his brother just like you are. Where this game also changes things up is that Hop picks the Pokemon that's weak to you. Now, in every other mainline Pokemon game, to my knowledge, your rival has always picked the starter that is strong against you. I thought this was dumb at first, but then I realized it's actually pretty creative because the champion, Leon, keeps the starter who is strong against you. So this just made me want to beat him up even more to prove that my starter being weak didn't matter. Off track. Anyway, story from there is pretty familiar until it isn't. Without spoiling anything, there are quite a few little twists and turns and surprises and variants that other mainline Pokemon games don't have. And that's nice and that's refreshing. But again, this is not anything crazy or radical. But the story is entertaining, and it's good and serviceable in that it got me through the map. It showed off the different locations, which we'll talk about later. And it was nice and it was breezy. It was nice. It was easy. It was cool. I've never been a story guy anyway, and Pokemon has never been a game focused on story, so this works for me. The story isn't too long. It never got stale. And again, I had the fire to get to the end to beat Leon and show him that my Grookey is better than his Fire Bunny. But anyway, story is a 60 for me. Now, that may be controversial to say, but I don't really care. I don't play Pokemon for story, and I never have. Sometimes I actually think it's a good thing that they keep the story basic because I get tired sometimes of playing these games where I have to follow these elaborate stories all the time and learn the lore and learn this and learn that. Pokemon is not about the story. It never has been. It probably never will be, which is another topic for another day. But it was a good, serviceable little story. This is a personal preference thing, but again, I thought it was fine, so it's worth $60. Let's go on to the gameplay. As a lifelong Pokemon fan who has played all the games, there are so many quality of life changes that this game adds that I literally just cannot believe I've ever had to live without them before. Here's a small list of the ones I really care about. You can skip all tutorials in the game. Thank you. HMs are completely gone. Thank you. You can run from the start. No more running shoes. No more pressing and holding down the B button, ruining my B button. Thank you. You can change a Pokemon's nature with mints. No more breeding. Thank you. Not only are there rare candies that level you up, but there are also EXP candies that give you massive amounts of experience to help train your Pokemon faster. Thank you. You can change your Pokemon's nickname in every Pokemon Center. Thank you. you can get Pokemon you catch at any time without having to go to the Pokemon Center and use the PC. Thank you. This really encourages you to use Pokemon you catch throughout the game on your team, and it really adds to that sense of team building and trial and error and finding out Pokemon that you like. Now here are some things that I feel like I should talk more about. Trainer customization. You get clothes, you get bags, you get hairstyles, you get hair color, you get eye color, you get skin color, you get shoe color, you get makeup, eyebrow shape, you name it. It's awesome. Moving on. Dynamaxing is the new big gimmick for this game. Now, when I say gimmick, I don't actually mean that in a negative connotation. I actually think that it is nice and refreshing, and here's why I like Dynamaxing. I like Dynamaxing. Dynamaxing to me, and by the way, if you don't know what it is, it's when your Pokemon turn big. Dynamaxing to me is what Mega Evolution should have been. I like that your Pokemon get big. I don't know what it is about seeing giant Pokemon, but I think it's cool. I really think it's cool. Pokemon get big, and then they turn back after, and it lasts only 3 turns. What this does for the game is it makes gym battles feel epic, because the only time you get to use this is in a gym or in a max raid battle, which we're going to talk about. But it feels epic in gyms. And not only this, but also whenever you enter in the gyms, and we're going to talk more about this in terms of aesthetics, but when you enter in the gyms, the crowd's cheering, TV shows going on, you have your gym leader who's like a celebrity, everybody's cheering your name. It's awesome. It's just like, this is how the anime portrays Pokemon trainers, as like these celebrities, and I've always wanted that in a Pokemon game. And Dynamaxing just adds that extra element. And not only that, but when you Dynamax, and we'll talk more about the music later, but it changes the song. And so just like this little special theme only for Dynamaxing happens during a Dynamax battle, in a gym battle, with all these people cheering, with the TVs on, with the gym leader acting like a celebrity. It's amazing. I love Dynamax. And I also love that they only last 3 turns. I also love that your Pokemon go back to regular after Dynamax is done. They are supposed to feel special, and because they are supposed to feel special, the game really succeeds at that, and it makes them feel like a spectacle. Now, on to max raid battles, another big gameplay change. So in this game, you can go out to the wild area and you can fight Dynamax Pokemon in these little dens, and you can fight them with up to 4 trainers. Now, if you don't have online, and we're going to talk about online later, but if you don't have online, you can use computer players, and they help you fight this Dynamax Pokemon. This Dynamax Pokemon stays giant the entire time, and when you defeat it, if you defeat it, you can either catch it or just defeat it. And when you catch it, it has updated stats. We're not going to get into every little dynamic of this game, but you also get little prizes. But what's awesome about max raid battles is that it gives you items like TMs to teach Pokemon moves that would otherwise be really, really difficult to get. So you can fight a max raid battle, you can catch this awesome rare Pokemon that knows special moves, and it gives you little prizes and surprises like EXP candies, like TMs, and it feels like this epic reward for an epic battle. I love max raid battles so much. Now, the next huge feature of this game is the wild area. The wild area is what everybody has wanted in a Pokemon game since the start of Pokemon. We wanted an area where we can roam around free, see Pokemon popping up in the wild, which we're going to talk about in a second, see Pokemon popping up in the wild, go after them, catch them, interact with them. And that is exactly what the wild area is. You have full camera control when you're in the wild area, and it feels amazing. It is so surreal seeing Pokemon walking around and interacting with you. It is so amazing after all these years of playing Pokemon and having little random encounters, which I love because they're still in the game. You get little rare Pokemon with little explanation points in the wild area, so if that's something that's important to you, it's still there. They kept the purity of the original formula while also adding Pokemon in the wild area, popping up and roaming around. It's just incredible. I don't even know how to explain the amount of joy I have seeing an Onix roaming around, seeing a Tyranitar roaming around. And now what's also cool about the wild area is that you can catch Pokemon that you could never catch before. So you can catch a Machamp just full blown in the wild area. You can catch Pokemon that usually you have to evolve in a special way in the wild area. So this is a big change for Pokemon as a series. This also makes it a lot easier to complete your Pokedex, which we're going to talk about later. But the one thing about the wild area that I love the most is that you can encounter Pokemon when you're early on in the game that are higher level than you, and they can just destroy you. There isn't like, oh, they can't fight you because they're too big and strong and you're too weak. No. If you choose to fight them, they will crush you. And you can choose to crush them. And if you do crush them, you get a lot of XP for it. So it's awesome. I love that there is that level of freedom to the wild area. Now, on to some gameplay features that I am not so fond of. In this game, you have the option to create a Pokemon camp at any point, anywhere, except for in gyms and, in special places. And you can camp and cook curry. I did not use this feature one time in the entire playthrough of my game, and this is the reason why. What making curry does with your Pokemon is that it makes them stronger, it gives them more critical hit ratio, correct me if I'm wrong, and it makes the game easier. It's like having a little Pokemon center anywhere you go, so you can heal them, you can buff them. It's just an addition that is not meant for a player like me, who's a veteran to the series. But it's fine. I'm glad it's in the game for people that like it. It's just not a thing that I care about. With that being said, this is going to be the same complaint I have for every Pokemon game going forward. And it's not a huge complaint. It's just that they give us the option to make it easier, but they do not give us the option to make it harder, in the sense that we can't just press a button or flip a switch and all Pokemon are suddenly 5 levels higher, which would be nice. It would be nice to add an extra layer of challenge to the game, which it's not an easy game by any stretch, but there's ways to make it so easy that it's boring. But it's up to you to just not engage in those ways. Anyway, the wild area, although it's amazing, and although it's everything I could have dreamed of in any Pokemon game, Pokemon running around, Pokemon flying above you, the wild area makes me wish the whole game had a movable camera, okay? Now, no other Pokemon game has ever had any point in it where you could move the camera freely. So this is a step in the right direction. I wish it was further, but we're gonna talk about later why I think that it's okay that it wasn't fully movable in this game, but I would like it for the next game. The next thing I'm not too fond of is the rival Hop. His name's Hop, by the way. I know it's not a joke. The rival Hop will not leave me alone. He holds my hand through every single cutscene, every route. There's barely any time when I do not have to interact with Hop. And I mean, Hop's fine, but he's also kind of annoying. So I kind of don't want to deal with Hop, and I kind of feel bad after I beat him every single time. And then he gets all depressed and he runs off, but he's still waiting on the next route for me. Just get rid of him. I just don't need Hop interacting with me all the time. Now, I'm not one of those people that the rival needs to be mean like Gary was back in the day. I would love that, but it's not like a downside that Hop is a little kid, because this game is meant for everybody, not just adults. I just wish Hop would not hold my hand all the time, especially in a game where you can skip all of the tutorials from the very start. I wish that there was an option where Hop did not have to be involved all the time, but that's a very minor gripe. Now, the one major thing about this game for me that I do not appreciate is the EXP share not being optional. What is the EXP share? If you have never played a Pokemon game before, basically it makes all of your Pokemon level up even when they're not battling. And you may be thinking, why is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. It removes a lot of the grind work from this game, and that is good. But the problem for me is that the EXP share is not optional. I just want the option to be able to flip the switch and turn it off. And all this would do for me is make it a little bit more challenging for me playing this game. Now, what they did do in this game with the EXP share that they removed from Sun and Moon, the last game, is that before, the EXP share used to give you EXP evenly amongst your entire team, even when they weren't fighting. What this game did is it made the Pokemon that's fighting get more, and everybody else just get a little bit less. So that's a nice switch, but I would just really appreciate being able to turn it off. I would really appreciate being able to turn it off. It's just something that, although it makes the game easier, and there's so many things about this game that make life easier, I just wish I had the option to turn this one off. Not a big deal, not game breaking, I just wish it was that way. Okay, so here's where I'm gonna address not having all 921 Pokemon in the game. I would love to be able to transfer all of my precious previous Pokemon into this game, but I think it would severely hurt this game as an experience if we could from the very start, and here's why. Here's what I mean by that. Completing the Pokedex is something that I actually found really fun and doable in this game for the first time since Diamond and Pearl. So to keep in mind, Diamond and Pearl was back in 2008 or 9 in the DS era, and they only had about 480 Pokemon in the game. So I felt like it was very doable to complete the Pokedex in that game, and I did. I did complete the Pokedex in Diamond and Pearl. This game only has about 400 Pokemon in the game as well. Now, in this game, again, completing the Pokedex is really fun and doable for a few reasons. One, the wild area is just so much fun to be in. I just love being in the wild area, hunting for Pokemon that only appear in certain weathers and in certain climates and certain areas. And I also love that there are certain Pokemon that used to only evolve in stupid, hard, difficult, annoying, tedious ways that you can just catch in the wild area if you spend the time and hunt for them. So for instance, I mentioned Machamp earlier. Machamp, you can only evolve if you trade to another person. Now, if I don't have another person to trade, I will never ever get Machamp, And that's frustrating, so that makes me not want to complete the Pokedex. But this game makes completing the Pokedex reasonable and easy. I feel like it would not be that way if there was 921 Pokemon to catch and complete the Pokedex with. Now, with that being said, as of the time of this recording, they are already adding more Pokemon into the game with Pokemon Home integration. So what Pokemon Home does, long story short, it transfers your Pokemon from your DS to this game, and it adds Pokemon that you can't catch in the game, like the starters from Kanto. And that's really great. I'm glad that they did it like this, looking back in hindsight, because I was pretty upset, thinking, dang, all these Pokemon that I caught through the years are not going to transfer with me. Well, what it looks like now to me is that they are going to transfer all the Pokemon with them, and I like that they're doing it slowly and broken up. I think it adds a reason to keep coming back to Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, we're going to talk about replayability later, but I think that slow and steady is the best method for releasing Pokemon into this game. With all that being said, this is the most streamlined Pokemon game we've ever gotten with all of the quality of life improvements. Even with the minor gripes I have, this gameplay, to me, as a longtime Pokemon fan, is worth $60. Okay? On to the graphics. First and foremost, this game has 86 new Pokemon. This is one of the lower counts of new Pokemon being introduced in the game that I've seen in a while, and I love it. I've been saying for so long, stop giving me a bunch of crappy filler designed Pokemon and just give me 50 to 80 good quality designs. Less is more. And in this case, I really do feel like less is more. That being said, Corviknight is already in my top favorite Pokemon of all time. Leave a comment below. Tell me who one of your new favorite Pokemon is from this region. Anyway, back to graphics. Art style is nice. I love the little attention to detail of this game that make it feel more like the anime, make it feel more like a living, breathing world, such as Pokemon flying above you, Pokemon walking around you, the trees blowing. And I know people were complaining about the trees. The trees blow, from what I remember and from what I've seen. Cutscenes are awesome. Now, even though the camera doesn't move when you walk around, you don't have full camera support, what I do like is they took the time to really craft and create these nice, perfect environments and scenes that when you're walking, the screen will pan and you'll see these awesome mountain views, these amazing cliffs, or this nice sunset or something like that. So I like that they put a lot of effort in to making it look pretty, even though we can't pan the camera. So I think that in a sense, this streamlines it too, because they didn't have to waste time and resources making models for every single angle of the game. They can make one little spot look really, really polished and clean. And I like that. I just like it. I don't need every single game to be open world and to have a million different places to explore. Now, as for the game's performance, it's smooth enough for me. It's turn-based strategy, so I'm hoping it runs well. Battles look cool, especially when Dynamaxing again, but there's no stuttering when biking or running around. Nothing that was noticeable to me that hindered the experience. Even though this game is not as beautiful as Breath of the Wild, like everyone wanted it to be, and somehow expected it to be, it feels like one of the only Pokemon games where, looking back, the graphics won't be unbearable to play, except for the OG ones with the sprites. Big step up for Pokemon. Graphics, $60 for me. $60 worth. I don't care. I know. Controversial, but it's $60 worth for me. Music and sound design. The music in this game is addicting. Pure and simple. I'm going to be playing it throughout this video. It's upbeat, it's catchy, it gets really diverse. They have some of the most memorable tracks for me. Some of my all-time favorite tracks of any Pokemon game are coming from this game, especially the Into the Cavern theme. I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to play it during this video, and I'll point out when it's playing. Even the tracks that have a weird concept sound good. There's this one where it literally has wolves howling in it, and it's still good and addicting. I like that it sounds like a lot of quality live instruments playing. That's always going to be a plus for me. The lack of voice acting in the game is noticeable. Let's just get that out of the way. A lot of the characters are really expressive, and it just feels weird to see them not talking at first, but this isn't the end of the world for me because Pokemon games have never had it. It's just one of those things that I feel like would take a lot of time to do, but would put an added cherry on top of the game. It would have added a little bit of polish, but again, it's not something that I'm missing because I've always played Pokemon games without it. For the next one, I would like to see it. But again, even so, I'd give the music and sound design a $60 experience. Replayability. Now, I would not necessarily put the story of this game in the replayability category, just because it's a Pokemon game and it's a Pokemon story. It's very traditional. But that's also not what Pokemon aims for when it comes to replayability. It's always been about the online and post-game. Post-game's been pretty decent, has some side missions in it, it's cool. But that's not what we care about. Online has ranked online battles, so you can be number 1 instead of Leon, And it's actually fun to try out new teams thanks to the rental team feature. So for instance, if I have this awesome killer team and I'm number 1, I can post a code and let you download it, and now you can use that team online and try to beat me with my own team. I think that that's just awesome. It also eliminates a lot of trying to craft these perfect teams when you don't even have the time to make perfect teams. You can just get a perfect team, use it, and then done. And now you can try another perfect team, use it, and done. It just makes playing Pokemon so much easier. This game just makes everything so easy. It's also fun to play online because it's so fun collecting Pokemon post-story, and the wild area is where you catch like 90% of them. So just being in the wild area makes catching Pokemon so much fun, and it makes me obsess over completing the Pokedex for the first time in years. So this adds countless hours to the game for me. So replayability in that sense is 60. It's a $60 experience. So if you add them up and divide them, all that stuff, you find the average, it's a $60 game for me. The phrase I would use to describe this game is a flawed $60 experience that Pokemon fans will drool over. Like me, a Pokemon fanboy. This is by no means a perfect game, but it did what it set out to do as a Pokemon game. It gave me $60 worth of Pokemon enjoyment, and that's what I asked for. That's what I signed up for by buying this game. I knew when I bought this game, I was going to get a mainline Pokemon experience on the Switch, and it delivered for me. If you've made it to the end of this video, dude, thanks for watching. Thank you for hanging in until the end. If you liked the video, which I'm sure you have some comments about this video, make sure to comment below and tell me what you think of the game, how wrong I am, who your new favorite Pokemon is this generation, the features that you could not live without, the features that you wish were changed, the things you wish were different. I don't care. Leave a comment below so I can talk Pokemon with you. If you've enjoyed the videos I've been putting out, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of them, and make sure to like the video if you did like it. All right, dude. Talk to you later.